Hi fam, I am Chef Leah Delight DiBernardo. Welcome to At the Table, our new weekly podcast where we invite thought-provoking guests to gather around the table to talk about good food, community, and everything in between. My pup Remy and I are happy you're here. Welcome back to the table. Today you're going to meet someone whose life doesn't just tell a story. He's going to hate that I'm saying this, but it also teaches one. At least it does for me. My dear friend of 23, can you believe? 23 years, Chuck Washington. And I just have to quickly say before we jump into anything, my buddy here hitchhiked his way through Europe with his wife, Kathy.
For 6 months.
For 6 months. He was a ski bum in Mammoth. Oh my gosh, there's just so much. We're not going to unpack it at the top of the show. He was in the Navy. He flew for Delta. And he's currently our elected official and our county supervisor here in Riverside County, right? But I want to say to all of our listeners, the point isn't your resume. The point is this through line that Chuck has practiced courage over and over through small leaps that turned a life into extraordinary living. And Chuck, first of all, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Like, I love you so much.
Yay.
I'm so excited
to be here.
I love this man so much. Because he's been just such a wonderful friend to me for the past 2 decades. But I know you're very humble as a person. So when I say courage and I talk about your life and how I feel courage has taken you all the way from traveling through Europe to being in the Navy to flying for Delta and then into politics. It's like you took this huge leap of faith in your life. And you shared this really cool story with me about Spain.
Yeah.
And hitchhiking and losing a backpack and getting in cars with strangers, and there was no internet and there was no GPS, there was no Google, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And I know you don't think that that's incredibly courageous, but I do. Like, how do you, if we were to start with Spain,
Yeah.
like, how did that trip through Spain take you here today? How did it influence?
Right. So I would say by the time we got to Spain, our 6-month trip was probably 5 months behind us. And so I have to tell you where we were going, because we ended up in Spain by way of the French Riviera. And oh, by the way, we pitched our tent on the beach in Monte Carlo. And they had...
You were allowed to do that?
No!
I was going to say.
It was certainly an example of ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Sure.
And we thought, oh my gosh, we have died and gone to heaven. We found this beautiful spot on the beach next to the Monte Carlo Yacht Club where they were having fireworks that night. And the police came the next morning.
I was going to say, I can't believe you got 24 hours.
Yes, we didn't get 24 hours. And they knocked on the tent and we peeked out and they said, you can't camp here. So we packed up and we left.
Okay, well, that's some courage.
Yeah. We made our way around to Barcelona. We loved Barcelona. But the goal was to get to Pamplona because I had this urge to run with the bulls. Now talk about some courage.
Okay, how old? Give us some placement. This was in the 70s.
I was probably...
You were in your 20s?
24 at that point.
You're just a little baby. Okay.
A baby, yes.
Yeah.
And because, well, I'd been with Kathy. It feels like all my life, because we started so young.
Well, you guys have a long, beautiful relationship, and I don't want to get off track, but man, count yourself fortunate.
You want me to make some tears happen right now?
No.
Because
I love Kathy.
Kathy would keep a journal while we were on that trip in Europe backpacking. And every now and then, recently, we'll just get in bed together. We go to bed at the same time and say, hey, I'm going to read a couple pages out of our journal. And we lay there and we reminisce about this trip we did back in 1977.
Okay, I just want to say that sounds a lot better than picking up your phone and scrolling through pictures. Oh, look what we did and look at this. Instead, you get to read about it in a journal. So Kathy kept a journal while you guys were traveling.
Yes. She's like that. She's intensely disciplined.
I love that.
And that would have been something I would have never done.
But you did want to go run with bulls.
That took a little discipline.
She kept the journal, but you were, okay, so you guys,
I survived the run.
You did it. You actually did the run.
I did the run.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And we were living in San Diego at the time. And I worked for a restaurant in Pacific Beach that's no longer there. It was called T.D. Hayes. And they had a T-shirt that said T.D. Hayes, and it was a white T-shirt with red. Well, in Running with the Bulls, everyone wears red and white. And you get a newspaper and roll it up so you can herd, because it's not all bulls. It's a mixture of bulls and sort of oxen.
Okay.
Because they tend to herd. Bulls don't herd. And people get hurt.
But they'll chase you.
Well, they'll herd and they'll move with the herd. But the streets are slippery. If they slip and get up, they're disoriented. And then they want to charge whoever's right there in front of them. That's usually when people get hurt. We got to the arena and we didn't know. We were so naive. We get to the arena and it turns into a bullfight. And
was Kathy running with you? Or
no.
It was you.
We had to meet up and she watched me go. All right.
Okay.
She saw me.
You're in the arena.
And then I get in, follow the bulls, all the herd into the arena. She finds me in there. There's 1,000 people in there. And we grabbed some seats. We're sitting next to some nuns. Remember this because we became somewhat disgusted by the fact that they were torturing this bull and then killing it.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was going to happen because they didn't do that in Mexico. And so we got up to leave and the nuns got mad at us for leaving. They were like...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's those customs, right?
There's those customs,
yeah.
Yes. And the good side of it is that they don't waste the bull. They butcher the bull.
Yeah.
And that meat is provided to the community.
To the village.
Yes.
So that's like, I know that you don't feel that your life started with courage, but I think that it takes steps like that do take courage. One, it's in the 70s. Like we don't have, like I said, GPS or any of that, right? And I know, of course, you don't think about it because it's a different time and you didn't think about those things, but you still have to be pretty grounded in a decision to go, we're just going to pack up and go.
Yeah.
And I think in a roundabout way that kind of set the pace of your life. I mean, am I wrong? Do you look at it that way or?
I agree with you in many ways. We had each other to lean on, and that multiplied our ability to be courageous. At some point, we had to kind of separate. Kathy going to nursing school at San Diego State, me pursuing my flying career and becoming a flight instructor. Flying laid a foundation for me because I felt like you're messing with your life or other people's lives. And this is how they taught you to do it, and this is what you're supposed to do when you go fly an airplane. You got to do a pre-flight, right? You got to, and all this stuff. And then while you're flying, all the stuff you have to do. And after a couple of years of not moving any further than that, I decided to join the Navy. Well, the Navy then not only layers in an additional level of discipline for flying, but discipline in general. I mean, we're in the military, right?
No more packing up and just going to Europe on a lark.
Yeah. And it's funny, years later, I'm out at the Catholic school here, St. Jean's, when they're going to do in Temecula.
Oh, okay.
I
just went from San Diego to Pasadena, Europe, Pasadena, San Diego, and Temecula. Okay.
Yeah. So this is probably 3 years ago, and the sister who's over the whole school and whatnot, she invited me to come and say a few words at the groundbreaking. And so I kind of talked about how people asked me after the military, well, was it tough? And I said, well, no, not really. I spent 12 years in Catholic school. After that, I could endure anything,
I think
she laughed. Later she wagged her finger at me for saying that, but I mean,
nuns have been sprinkled out through your lifetime.
Yes.
That's,
They have.
from running with so high school, which you grew up in Pasadena.
Yes.
And you went to
parochial school.
Parochial school.
Parochial school.
Oh, yes.
Sacred Heart Elementary, and then St. Francis High School in La Cañada, now La Cañada Flint Ridge. Yeah.
And your dad was a doctor.
Yeah.
I love I just I want to take like a little trip of your life because you're a politician, but you're also a pilot, you're a dad, you're a great freaking friend. And you have something that few people have, right? You, at least in my book, you have an amazing amount of integrity, but you have this desire to teach. You have this desire to leave this planet in better shape than before you got here.
Yeah.
And I know firsthand that one of the reasons why you have the staff, which we'll talk about later, that you do is because you really want to make sure you reach that generation. Now, if we go back to your generation and growing up in Pasadena, your dad's a doctor, you guys are from the South, you have such an interesting path.
Yeah.
How did flying, oh my gosh, I have so many words in my mouth I want to get out right now. And I'm just not, my brain is going a million miles an hour. I want to know how you got from that to this.
So this is something I have said often. Everything that is good in my life flows back to Kathy, my wife. And so I'm just going to give her credit for.
Okay, Kath, there's your credit.
There's your credit. Footnote. We liked to do things that didn't cost money when we were young marrieds living in Pacific Beach, right? We had an inexpensive apartment. We worked in restaurants. We lived a block and a half from the beach for $170 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. So the life was pretty good, but we didn't have a lot of money. So one weekend she says, hey, there's a little airplane show going on out in El Cajon at Gillespie Field. Want to go? Sure, why not? I go out there, and they're selling rides in this Cessna 172 four-seater, and it's $0.05 a pound, whatever you weigh. So I ended up spending, not even $10, right?
$0.05 a pound.
Yeah.
What an interesting way to charge for an experience.
It was just like to get you pulled in and committed.
Yeah.
And so there's the guy flying the airplane in the left seat. Someone else was sitting in the right seat, and two of us in the back. And when we landed, I thought I had just now taken some drug. I was just so excited about flying, and I took, oh my God, I found out what I want to be when I grow up.
That you got your jam like that.
Right there in that moment.
I can feel it just sitting here now with you. You're just like, your eyes are like sparkling.
Sandwiched in between was the 6 months in Europe after that. But at the end of the 6 months, when we ran out of money, Kathy said, let's go to Germany and we can work on the base, on the Air Force base there, U.S. base, and ski. And I said, no, I got to get home. And so she said, okay, let's go then. We went home. Within the next couple of months, I started my flight training.
So that's how you went into flight training. It was that one experience as a civilian.
Yeah. I got an introductory flight, and I love that. I still get that thrill. Like, there's something pretty cool about rolling down the runway, and then you get enough speed going that you can develop lift, and you pull back on the yoke, and the airplane is flying. Oh my God. It is the coolest thing, especially in a smaller plane. The largest thing I've ever flown was an MD-11, Los Angeles to Japan.
That's a long flight.
Yeah, that direction, 10 and a half hours, about 9 coming back because of the tailwind, headwind. But in a big airplane, you pull up and you can't see anything anymore. Because there's just your nose is up so high. And
don't you think that it takes a lot of courage to get on your path in life?
I think, and you and I talked about this before, but maybe people think of courage as someone came upon a burning car and there was a person in there and they pulled them out.
Sure.
But 99.9% of us will never encounter that scenario, right? Mm-hmm. The decisions we make in our own personal life can reflect a version of courage if you stop and think about it. We all encounter difficult decisions. I think oftentimes in our gut, we know what the right decision is.
Okay.
Are we willing to make that decision? And at what cost? Sometimes it might cost you a friend. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go this way instead of that way.
Or a family member. That's where I'm kind of going with this, because there's so much pure pressure. And I know courage does. It comes in many forms.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're the perfect person to talk about that.
But I've learned along the way too. And I share this with you because in that time period in the 70s when Kathy and I were backpacking, and then when we had an apartment a block and a half from the beach, there was a different wage versus cost equation that we young people encountered than what young people today are dealing with. And I learned that through the eyes and lives of my staff as a county supervisor, because I have a staff of 8. It started out with this mix and that mix, but where I've arrived at after 10 years is I have 8 women. Of the 8, 5 are under 30. The 6th is my chief of staff, she's
Miss Robin.
She's over 30, barely. But they are phenomenal young people, well-educated, hardworking, good public servants. And I learned by listening to them. It's kind of funny. A couple of them have written remarks for me to give at some kind of an event, like at a ribbon cutting or something. And they try to make the words sound like me talking, but every now and then they'll interject something that is like cool with young people.
Well, they're not saying, hey, you look fit and, oh, you're fire.
Fire. Yes. Yes.
Sorry. We sound so like old just saying that. Whatever. I don't care.
I know. And so
Do you say it? What are the reactions?
Not always. But here's what happens is I'll be in the midst of it. I've looked it over, not too sure how it's going to sound. But then when I start it, I get to that point and I just laugh out loud. And I go, sorry.
Just make fun of ourselves a little bit.
Yeah. They put something in here that they wanted me to read that I just can't say. Yeah. But they're fun.
They are fun. But see, I think that's courage in itself, because courage becomes a pattern, it's a habit, and it becomes a muscle.
It does. And so where you end up is you end up making choices that you know are the right thing, and you're following your heart and your head, and you're going to end up in a better place. That's what I've become convinced of, is that if you make the courageous decisions, and I'm not a perfect human being, and I've made mistakes along the way, and I've learned from those mistakes that I've made. Sometimes I lord that notion that I know the right thing to do over people, and it comes across as arrogant. And I'm sorry to all the people in the world in my life that I've offended by my arrogance.
Sometimes in our positions and in our careers, we know what needs to be done. And I also think that we have to make those decisions whether people are going to think you're an ass or not, right? Because they sometimes don't know what they don't know until they just damn well don't know it. Yeah. And the same with us, right? But we have to be able to have grace with one another to do what we need to do within our within our careers or our jobs, especially in public service. My goodness. So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of opinions about politicians, Chuck.
Let me say that about being a politician. We live in a representative form of government. We elect people to represent us, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I take that job pretty seriously. Like, I spend time getting to know the material that's on my agenda for my board meeting, understanding the issues, meeting every day with county staff, getting reports about things. And then when it's time to make a vote, I use what I've learned. I use my knowledge, my experience. I know that there are going to be 3 people who don't like the decision I made. But I can't let that guide me. I have to use, and that requires a little bit of courage to do what you know is the right thing to do, but I try to explain it. So if I'm at a meeting, this is how I'm going to vote, and here's why. I don't have people questioning me afterwards. Yeah. Because they understand now he's representing me. And even if I didn't agree with him, he explained his point. And I think that's a point of courage pathway.
Well, Chuck, it's because sometimes courage isn't comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's just a sensation that we all need to tolerate or learn to tolerate.
Yeah. It's funny, back to the flying thing, 25 years. I calculated at about 6.5 million miles I flew as an airline pilot.
Too bad you can't have air miles for that.
I know. Can I get credit for that?
Be flying for
No,
free.
you got a paycheck.
You get like the Delta Lounge.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, paycheck, schmaycheck.
Yeah.
All right.
But, especially around the 9/11 time period, I was flying for Delta then.
Okay.
Because I went to work for Delta in 1987.
All right.
I got out of the Navy when there was still the Soviet Union and the Berlin Wall.
The Berlin Wall.
Yes, but
yeah. Well, I know, right?
Yeah. But people said, well, are you afraid when you're flying? No.
That's actually a question I had for you, so you're answering it right now.
No.
Okay.
And then I respond to that question with my own question. Wouldn't it make you a little nervous if you knew that the pilots in the cockpit flying you were scared?
That would make me really nervous, actually. Yeah.
You don't want your pilots scared.
I'm actually like rubbing my palms together while you're talking about it. As a reaction. Yeah.
And I don't want to be the other pilot in the cockpit with a pilot who's scared.
Yeah.
Because, you're making decisions in fear if there's a decision to be made. Usually it is so mundane. There was a joke about how, being an airline pilot is hours and hours of sheer boredom, punctuated by a moment of sheer terror.
Are these things you guys talk about in the cockpit, though?
No, I never had those conversations with anybody. We just sit there, and when you're sitting side by side with another pilot, and it's not someone you've flown with before, right? And you're both looking forward. And if I look over at the other pilot, I'm just seeing their profile, right? So here's what's happened to me. Then we fly a couple legs, and then we get to the hotel, and we say, hey, you want to come down for a beer after we get out of our uniforms? Okay, sure, sounds good. Go upstairs, 20 minutes later, come down. Now I realize I don't know what the other guy looks like because...
That's hysterical.
Because we've been flying together all day, but we're both looking this way. And I probably looked over once or twice, but I thought it was kind of an interesting phenomenon. But it's incredibly boring in that cockpit to just sit there. This person is either much younger than you or much older than you, depending on your seat. If you're a co-pilot,
sure.
They're probably older captain. If you're the captain, younger co-pilot, just the way seniority works. And so you find that you have different viewpoints.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
It's probably good that you don't really know each other super well beforehand.
Yeah.
Right?
So
especially these days.
So what you end up doing is you make small talk about flying, or if we're in contract negotiations, you talk a little bit about that. You talk about family. And on that topic, oh my God, My wife, when I got out of the Navy and got hired by Delta, our daughter was 4 years old. By the time she was 6 or 7, and I had some seniority and could get some really good trips. For example, Los Angeles to New York, and we're going to get in at like 4 in the afternoon, and we're going to leave the next day at 2 in the afternoon. 22-hour layover. Nice layover, right? So we land at JFK, and they ride free with me on the crew van. We have a van that just has the crew and family if they come along.
Sure. Perks of being a pilot.
Yeah. Go to the hotel in Manhattan. We used to stay at a hotel that was 2 blocks from Times Square and stay free. We go out to dinner.
Your life has been it's this big adventure.
Yes. And then the next day, back in the van, back to the airport, go home. It's just one night in New York, but they got first class going out. They got first class going home.
Yeah, but it's this one night. It's all these collected memories that form us.
Yeah.
Which is why when we first started talking, I literally was like, how did Spain, that one moment of hitchhiking, losing your rucksack, leaving Kathy, which is funny, like, you stay here, I'll be right back, finding the rucksack with the grace of all these strangers.
Yeah.
And it's almost like flying is the same thing for you in a way, right? When you have adventure, kind of with strangers.
Yeah.
And I just that there's courage weaved in and out of all of this, including probably the food you ate on the plane. I'm so sorry, but you flew so much.
Wait a minute. When I first started, so this is in the late 80s and through the 90s, food on airliners was good.
Oh, was it good?
Oh my God. We took our daughter and a friend and we just non-revved to Orlando to go to Disney World, right?
Yes.
And they got seats in first class. And the choice was steak or lobster.
Come on.
Yes. On an airplane.
Why did food go downhill on airplanes?
Because it cost money. They started squeezing it. They brought dessert, ice cream sundaes.
Did you get a little? Oh, wait a minute. I remember the ice cream sundaes on Delta because it was Western Airlines then it went into Delta and you could pick your freaking toppings. I remember that.
So if you talk to someone now in their 20s, they're going to say, what are you talking about?
I know. It kind of dates us. Who cares? Yeah.
They'll say, you guys ate all the ice cream.
Okay.
That's why there's none for us.
Yeah. Well, too bad.
Yeah.
I just have to ask, I know we're talking about something else, but least favorite meal that you ever had on the plane traveling. That's got to be a memory. Because
you're asking the wrong person.
I am?
Yes, because I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I love food and I love to eat. So it's hard to put something in front of me that I won't
So we're not going to get that out of you, but we do know that there was lobster and steak.
It went so far as in Catholic school, my sister and I, she's 2 grades behind me, we're going to school at Sacred Heart in Altadena. And we go in the cafeteria at lunchtime, and the nuns won't let you go out to play until you finish your lunch, right? And I would be one of the first kids out. I get out to play.
Oh, okay. So that was that motivation.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You were just like, no, I get this. Right?
Yes.
I get play, so I'm going to get through this food regardless of what it is.
Here's a tug at the heart, but it was genuine in the time, and I'm not saying it to brag about myself, but my sister hated to eat. She would move her food around. You see kids that move their food around the plate and don't make any progress. So after a little bit, I would go back in the cafeteria. Everyone's gone but my sister. I would look around and see if I saw any nuns. I would go over there and I would eat her food for her so she could go out and play.
I love that so much about you. That says everything about you.
Well, I like food, and I really loved my sister.
Of course.
Yeah.
That brings me right. That just brings me right back to your staff, because I know firsthand how much you care about the women that work with you.
Yeah.
And I won't even say for you because I know you. They work with you. They lift you up and you work hard to lift them up. Yeah. But you made this choice. And again, that's a courageous choice because everyone's got an opinion about what everybody does and why they do it.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about that. And I want you to talk about how you feel about this generation as a politician and what you want to do here in this county for them.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot, but I know you can unpack that.
You know, a lot of people know that my staff of 8, and it's funny, up and down the state, counties in California have different amounts of population. And so Riverside County has 2.5 million.
We have 2.5 million people?
Yes. We are the 4th largest county in the state.
And that includes Palm Springs. I think a lot of people don't understand Riverside County, Palm Springs.
Goes all the way out to the river.
Okay.
To Blythe.
All right.
Yeah. And so the staffing we have is based on the size of our districts. I have 500,000 people. But when I'm like, in Sacramento or something, meeting with other county supervisors, talking county issues, and they come from a small county. I mean, you probably don't know what the smallest county is population-wise in California.
I don't.
It's Alpine County, population 1,250 people.
That's northern, yeah.
Yeah, and just south of Lake Tahoe. They don't get a staff.
They don't get a staff.
No.
Sorry, Alpine.
Sorry.
You get one.
Yeah. And then I say, well, it's not like LA County. They have 10 million people. And my good friend, Catherine Barger, is the supervisor over the area, Pasadena, where I grew up. So I tell her she's my supervisor. She has a staff of like 48
Holy
or 50.
Cow.
Well, she's got 2 million people in her district. So anyway, back to my staff. When I first started, I had the staff of my predecessor. That slowly evolved. Then I kind of got to the point where I recognized that I'd had a couple of different electeds that were council members in different cities working as part of my staff, that it was kind of a small conflict to have other electeds because it would kind of divide their loyalties.
Sure.
And so I let that go gradually. They were both men. I needed a new chief of staff. And I'd seen the chief of staff of another supervisor who had subsequently passed away, and so she was no longer working in that role. And she was in a temp position at the county. Go, come work for me, Michelle. And so she did for a couple of years. She wanted to know if I was okay with her going to back to school, get her master's. I said, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Oh, well, she's working with you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
This has
awesome.
become a pattern in my office. People, while they're working for me, they're also on their own time going back to school. And so she got her master's, and within the next 3 to 6 months, she got hired away by another department at the county. So I lost her. I had a guy come in for about 6 months. It didn't work out. But there was a woman that had been there, Robin, and she'd been there longer than me. She came to work for my predecessor as his intern. And I'd made her deputy chief of staff. So, you want the job? She said, yeah, I want the job.
That's awesome.
So I promoted her to chief of staff. And you can talk to my wife. She'll tell you, he raves about Robin all the time. She is this very young, old soul.
She is an old soul for sure.
Very mature. She gets it. And I tease her about how often she's able to finish my sentences for me. She's roaming around in my head somewhere. But where I ended up is now I have a staff of 8 women because they were the ones that filled a job in the moment. And they've worked very hard. And people compliment me about my staff all the time. And I say, wow, this is working really well.
But you also take a leap of faith with people often, right? And you're a career politician at this point.
Yeah.
Right? With going from Murrieta Temecula City Council, mayor, county supervisor,
Yeah.
and you're putting your career, your image in their hands.
Yes.
And that, again,
It takes a level of trust.
it totally does. And you know what? Courage isn't what I'm hearing from this conversation, like with you, because it's not flashy, right?
No.
It's steady, it's quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's not hard for me. Like to sit in a board meeting and just be sort of quiet and reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And others want to some want to showboat to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
I've served with people like that who always feel like they need to get some attention, and it comes at the expense of their colleagues, right? Because whether you're a council member or supervisor, you have no authority by law as one individual. The authority comes with the group, with the board.
Well, it can be at the cost of the constituents too, and I love that you get that, and I think that. I think that, I mean, you've had this amazing journey. Oh my goodness. And you end up after this amazing rich life. Why politics? Why, like, what? Before we get to the end of the show, it's like, I'm curious, like, why?
I retired from Delta Airlines in 2014, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with myself. And at the time, I was on the Temecula City Council. I was enjoying that. I figured I could, the pay was not an issue.
Yeah, but you did that because I remember when I first met you, and I remember you asking me why I was doing what I was doing with Slow Food, right? Slow Food's a nonprofit around good, clean, and fair food.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at you, and I remember saying, well, it's because there's, like, look at these kids and look what they're eating in school programs.
Yeah.
So we need to do something about that. And you said, and you told me, that's why I'm on city council.
So you want me to go all the way back to the beginning?
No.
Why I got involved in politics?
I just want to know what that one itch was that you got it, why you ran for city council.
It started in Murrieta, and I would have to say it was my ignorance and a mistake.
Oh, okay.
So I had been volunteering, doing a lot of stuff in the community. This is back in the
early 2000s.
No,
90s, late 90s.
Yeah, not even late 90s.
Wow. Okay.
We moved to Murrieta in '89, so we were there before Temecula or Murrieta became cities. Very low population. Everybody volunteered. If you had a kid in school, you volunteered for everything.
So is that why you got involved in politics?
So in 1995. I was named Citizen of the Year in Murrieta. So people started saying to me, you should run for city council. I go, oh, okay. I didn't even know what it was. And so I got the paperwork. I signed up. I started campaigning. And I didn't know what I was talking about. And people were asking tough questions. And so I went home and I said, Kat, I don't want this. I should just stop campaigning. So I did, and I got elected anyway.
Yeah, but it's okay. So I'm just going to call you out because I know you. Courage comes in many forms, Mr. Washington, and it takes courage to put yourself up for that. It takes courage to take those steps.
Yeah.
And you didn't stop there. You then got on city council in Temecula, and you were mayor, and then.
Well, I gave Murrieta all of what I had to give.
Yeah.
But I was not interested in running for re-election. And then the next year we moved, and I got more involved in volunteering in Temecula.
Being a politician is like volunteering. You really
Kinda,
are
in
volunteering.
A way, yeah. Because when you're making $400 a month, volunteering. With all due humility, then I got named Citizen of the Year in Temecula, and decided I could actually make a difference on the city council. So
there we go.
So I ran, and I ran because the airline job was just that. It was just sitting in an airplane. The honest to God's truth. People don't like me to say this, but it's kind of a joke. You stand at the door, at the gate where you've landed and people are getting off, and they're saying to you, thank you for a safe flight, as if I did it for them. I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. You know, that's the beauty of flying airplanes, right? Is you're on the front end of that missile.
Because you want to stay super safe. Yeah.
I want to stay alive.
But that's the thing with, I feel why you do what you do. You want to keep people safe. You want to see people grow.
Yeah.
And,
but I'm not doing that as a politician. As an airline pilot, I'm just doing my job. And there's a locked door between me and the customer, right?
Yeah.
Very little feedback from them. I mean, honestly, they say thank you for the safe flight, but they don't know what actually goes into getting them from point A to point B safely.
Sure.
And we're just doing it because we're professionals. That's our job.
I don't think constituents know that you're getting them from point A to point B safely.
But there is more interaction, right?
Yeah, much more interaction.
Much more interaction.
So can I ask you then, as we start to wrap up the show, because I really do want you to end in a way that gives our listeners and some of your constituents, right, something practical to carry on in their lives. Right.
Yeah.
Someone who maybe feels stuck, scared, unsure. I can't take even the smallest of leaps.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we have a tendency, we politicians, to focus on the really big stuff. You know, we're building a wellness village up the 215. It's
Nice.
a $500 million project. Probably most of my constituents don't even know about that. What they care about is, I'm struggling to get this. And it's a small thing that affects their lives. We've gotten very good, if we know about them, if they reach out to us at 955-1030, that we can help them. You know, we're doing these big things that nobody really knows about, but those little things that affect their lives, those are things that they appreciate you for. And then in my role as a commissioner on the First Five Commission, you know, we have money that comes from tobacco sales tax and all that. And it goes to this, everybody gets a pot of money, each county. And I've served on that commission for 8.5 years. One of the things I noticed was that drownings and near drownings of kids under 5, which is the leading
Drownings. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
so there were families who didn't have access or couldn't afford drowning prevention training. And you can start that at 9 months, a year and a half, whatever the age. And so we set up a scholarship fund at First Five to give to those families. When we had met the demand of that, then we started funding training people that knew how to do that. So we've given, we pay for trainings that have gone on in Temecula for years now. I think we're saving lives. I think people appreciate what we've done. It's a small thing, doesn't cost a lot of money, but it's a big thing in their life.
I was going to say it's a big thing in their lives. And so what beliefs about themselves do people need to maybe let go of in order to be brave? Again, dealing with younger people, like seeing what's going on, even economically, just with anxiety.
Yeah.
Like it's a different generation. You went from, like, Chuck, you grew up in a very freeing generation, right? You got to travel without all this crap that really dragged you down or told you where to be or showed you a fabulous picture of some influencer that, you know, gave you a little bit of anxiety. But now it's like, what beliefs about themselves, these young people, do you think that they could let go of in order to be brave? Braver in their life?
I've learned, especially even recently, that sometimes you don't know what's going on in someone's life or has gone on in their life. I was having a conversation with a young woman who doesn't work for me anymore, but used to. And she was freed up because I wasn't her boss anymore. And she kind of gave me some of her background. I go, wow, I didn't realize that. Raised by a single mom, all of that stuff. It's a challenge. And it affects the children. You know, Kathy, co-parents with our grandchildren, our 3 grandchildren. But this young woman had gotten sent to daycare where there were strangers she didn't know. And she said, and at times I was scared.
Sure, that's fair.
You know? So growing up, depending on what your environment was, what your situation was, but I would say, if you can, let go of the need to make someone else happy.
That's fantastic.
You know, you got to be happy.
Yes.
You have to make yourself happy. And I think when you make decisions that you know are good for you and not just what someone else wants you to do, that takes courage.
Well, it's also it's the first small leap, and once you take it, like your whole life can open up. And that's what I'm hearing you saying right now. And
you talked about muscle development. That becomes a muscle.
Muscle memory. Absolutely. These are habits, and courage is a part of habit. And I think what you've shown us, or what you've really given us today is all these different stages of what courage can be, what it leads up to, and that we all really do have it in us.
Yeah.
We just have to give ourselves a little bit of grace and space.
Yes. Yes. For me also, I have found my wife for the last 40 years has had the same thing for breakfast every morning. An English muffin and some cottage cheese.
I'm sorry, Kathy, but that just bores me.
Me too. Me too. And so my view of us as a couple is she's that plain and I'm the spice.
Oh my gosh.
In her life.
I love that.
And it works well for both of us.
It does. It does.
You
guys have good balance.
Yes, we do. And she loves standing beside me as I do my government job.
Yeah.
When we have to go to things that I'm doing that as a county supervisor, she always wants to go. She's always supporting.
All right. So what would you like to leave our listeners with today?
I don't feel like I'm a special person. I think the path that I've lived my life on, along with my partner, has been the result of making good, timely decisions. Some of them required courage. We didn't realize it, but even a black man marrying a white woman took a little courage in 1974.
A lot of courage.
You know, and so we just kind of grew up as young adults, developing that muscle and supporting one another and leveraging each other's support to level yourself up, you know. It helps to have someone else there who is cheering you on.
Championing you?
Yes, that's the word.
Okay, well, you do that with people, just so you know. You champion people in their lives. And I only know that firsthand. Yeah. And I appreciate that about you. And I don't know if you remember, but I think it was 2006. It was so long ago. Gigi was just a baby.
Yeah.
And you pulled me aside. You invited me out for coffee. We met at some coffee shop. And you very gracefully scolded me and told me I was behaving in such a way that I was going to turn people off. I don't know the exact words, but I'll never forget it. And I remember but it was beautiful. And I took that with me, and that was a really interesting fork in the road for me. And you have championed me, and so many others every step of the way. I see it with your staff. I see it with your constituents. I see it with your wife, with your kids, with your grandkids. And I think that's really the takeaway. You've shown us that you don't need money, you don't need status, you don't need certainty, and you don't need a perfect plan. You do not need a perfect plan. And you definitely do need optimism.
Yes. I have not gotten jobs I applied for and thought, if I don't get this job, it'll be the end of the world. And then when I didn't get the job or position, I go, maybe something else will come along. And then something else did come along.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
because there's optimism.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for and for everyone listening. Start small.
Yeah.
Be brave. Say yes, because courage will meet you once you move.
Yes. Build that muscle, huh?
Build that muscle.
Yeah, and it'll serve you the rest of your life.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too, babe. Every meal shared is a conversation started. I want to thank our guests today, and I really want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. It means a lot to all of us. You can find us on Instagram at The Table with Leah and anywhere you listen to your podcast. At the Table is produced by the very mighty Studio 215. Programming manager, Nate Marriott, our awesome studio manager, Brian Umali, and the gorgeous show producer, Miss Mari Fuentes. Thanks for being here.